All right, we're going to dive into a question today that might feel a little personal, but trust me, you're going to want to stick around because the answer is way more fascinating than you might think. It's a question that feels like it's straight out of a thriller.
So, yeah, let's just get right to it. Are you a psychopath? And hey, before you just laugh that off, hold on a second. Statistics show that you almost certainly know someone with pretty significant psychopathic traits. You might even work with them.
But first, we really need to get one thing straight. You've got to erase that image of a cackling movie villain from your mind. Seriously, just forget the whole Hollywood caricature. That is not what we're talking about here.
We have to get past the myth of the psychopath because in reality, it's not about being an evil genius. It's about clinical neuroscience. And the people we're talking about, they aren't hiding in the shadows. They could be your boss, your neighbor, someone you see every single day. The truth is much, much closer to home than Hollywood wants you to believe.
So what is actually going on inside a different kind of brain? It is so important to understand that this isn't a moral failing or a choice someone makes. No, it's the result of a very distinct kind of neurological wiring. It's a hardware thing, not a software thing. And it all starts deep inside the brain.
Just take a look at this. On the left, that's a typical brain reacting to fear. You see the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, it's lit up like a Christmas tree. But now, look at the brain on the right. In a psychopath's brain, nothing. It's quiet. The amygdala is severely underreactive. This means they literally don't feel that jolt of fear or the sting of someone else's pain in the same way that most of us do.
And that neurological difference leads us straight to the most famous trait of all, the empathy switch, or lack thereof. But it's not as simple as just not having empathy. It's actually a lot more nuanced, because there are two different kinds, and understanding the distinction is absolutely crucial.
So first up, we've got affective empathy. This is the one we all know. It's that gut-level feeling when you see a friend who's hurting and you actually feel a pang of their sadness yourself. It's an emotional echo. And this is the component that's basically missing in the psychopathic brain. But here is the massive twist. They often have the other kind of empathy in spades, cognitive empathy. This is the ability to intellectually understand what someone is feeling and why. They can read your facial expressions, your body language. They can predict what you're going to do with stunning accuracy.
And this quote just nails the paradox, doesn't it? They completely understand what you're feeling. They just don't feel it with you. There's no emotional response. And that combination, high cognitive empathy, low affective empathy, well, that's their superpower for manipulation. They can use your own emotions against you without ever feeling a shred of guilt.
Now, before we put psychopaths in this completely separate box, let's turn the mirror on ourselves for a second. Let's look at a little cognitive glitch that, well, most of us have. It turns out a bit of an ego is surprisingly human.
It's a real thing. It's called illusory superiority. It's basically the well-documented tendency for people to think they're a little bit smarter, a little bit funnier, generally better than average. Sound it all familiar?
Get this. In one famous university study, students were asked to rate their own academic performance. A whopping 87% of them rated themselves as being above the median. As you can see from this chart, that's just statistically impossible. By definition, only 50% of people can be above the median, right? This shows that nearly all of us have a touch of this illusory superiority. Psychopaths, they just take that very natural human grandiosity and crank it up to a clinical, remorseless extreme.
So far, I know this all sounds pretty negative, but what if this neurological wiring isn't just a defect? What if in certain high-stakes situations, it's actually an advantage?
I mean, think about it. Think about the most high-pressure jobs out there. A surgeon who doesn't panic with a life in their hands, a CEO who can make ruthless but necessary calls for the company, a lawyer who stays ice-cold under intense cross-examination. In these kinds of environments, the biological inability to feel fear, that lack of emotional distraction, it can be a unique and powerful asset.
Which leaves us with one last, kind of challenging question. We're always taught to see empathy as this core human strength. But in a world that seems to demand more and more cool-headed, logical decision-making, is it possible that sometimes feeling less is actually an advantage?